Hello. How's everybody How's everybody doing? How is your week been? How is your weekend going? How are things? I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. Um, I my week's been okay. I'm finally recovering from like the stress and the shock of the earlier part of the year. I'm finally like actually able to like get in and like dig in and like make some content. So yeah, videos coming soon, hopefully. Um, I hope everybody's had a good time, though. We are officially, I think, right? Yesterday was the solstice. We're officially into fall, I believe. If not yesterday, then today. Welcome to fall. It feels like the year has gone by like that. It's already September. It's nearly the end of September. It's almost October. How has this happened? I don't understand. Anyway, we've got a couple of folks in the chat. We've got Rant Engine is here, who has properly calibrated his monitor and has gone from 8 bits per channel to 12 bits per channel. Well done. Welcome to good color. Darina's Technobabble is here. Hello, hello. Francois is here. Hello, welcome. Charlotte is here. Charlotte says, good evening, fellow Ambrosiacs. Is that a word? It's a word now. Retro Mac UK is here. Hello. Good evening. And I've got a couple of viewers from over the pond. I think I'm gonna make it a thing. I don't usually advertise my streams on my Mastodon, but I think I'm gonna make it a more regular thing and include, you know, the UTC time, because I get a lot of folks from the UK and Europe who hop in and stream, because apparently this is like prime stream viewing hours, like 10 p.m. over there or something like that. Sure, alright, I mean, if you want to watch it, more power to you. Who else do we have? We've got Asmodeus is here. Hello, welcome. Hardened Held is here. Welcome to the stream. And I8386SX is here. Hello, welcome to the stream. We have got a build stream today. I am doing it. I'm putting my computing where my mouth is, right? I've been saying for a long time, and of course Sean Action Retro has been saying for a while now, that Haiku is daily drivable. And we've explored it a couple of times on the channel with various crazy hardware. The last time we looked at it with an old Bulldozer APU, actually technically Trinity, which is Bulldozer cores, piledriver cores, and Terascale graphics. So not exactly modern, but it ran like stink. So I think I'm going to make this my everything computer. Everything except, obviously, since Haiku has no 3D acceleration, it's going to be everything except my video editing, 3D gaming, and VR. Those I'm going to keep on this machine here that you're watching me from. This is my Windows PC. And once I have a viable alternative to those things, I'm getting off of Windows as well, but all of my other stuff, script writing, general surfing, watching videos, whatever, it's going to happen on this thing on Haiku. That's what I'm going to do. And this is going to take the place of my M1 Mac Mini, which is currently sitting down here below my monitor, and has been otherwise my primary do-whatever computer. I've gotten sick of macOS. I've never really loved macOS 10. It was kind of fun to try the beta way back in 2000, 2001, but there's a couple of things that I don't love about macOS 10, and they've stayed that way since, 20 years ago. None of it's ever changed. It still gets under my skin, and I still just don't really like it. The last good macOS was classic macOS, honestly, in my opinion anyway. So I'm going to make my primary main PC a Haiku system based on this hardware. I've got a bunch more stuff on the desk here we'll go over, and we're going to build it from the ground up. Today on stream, we're going to install Haiku, and we're going to play around with it. I don't think it's going to be a super long stream, hopefully. We've tested these components. We know they work. Hopefully they continue to work. You never know with computer components these days. But we're going to build it, run it, test it, and see what we can get out of it. I mean, Haiku has Firefox at this point. Like, what more do you need? Trina says, I'm glad you can say that username, I8386SX. Well, yeah, you know, I mean, it's okay. John, Big Bad Biologist, John's a Mac person, right? Like, it doesn't roll off the tongue, right? Unless you've been in the PC space for a long time. It's understandable. It's okay. I don't blame you, John. It's all right. Oh. And Francois says, I advertise my streams on Mastodon like 10 seconds before going live. Can I recommend pushing that back a bit? Schedule your streams. Probably like the number one thing I can offer you if you're trying to get into Twitch or YouTube streaming. Schedule your streams, right? Make it a regular occurrence that happens at the same time every day, week, couple of times a week, whenever you decide to make your stream schedule. Make it a regular time. That keeps you accountable. Like, oh, I have to stream in 3 hours, and what should I do? This has happened to me more often than I want to admit. But also, like, it gives your stream an anchor, right? Like a temporal anchor for your viewers, and they're like, oh yeah, I can go watch Amber's stream Saturday at 4 Mountain Time, or whatever, Saturday at 3 Pacific, or 6 Eastern, whenever, you know, however time works. I don't understand how it works. And see, there we go. McMaz59 is here from France. See, I have a bunch of viewers from over the pond, and hello, all of you. Apparently it's like prime viewing time over there for you guys, and hey, I'm happy to have you. It's the middle of the afternoon here in the States. I'm in Mountain Time in the US, and I'll be streaming for the next hour or two, and we're going to put together a haiku machine. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. Retro Macintosh UK says, I pretty much use Debian now. So I have opinions about Linux as well. Because Linux was supposed to be, right? Linux was supposed to be our savior from corporate and capital controlled computing, right? Like, when we knew it eventually happened, right? The corporations and the shareholders and capital would eventually turn the screws on Microsoft and Apple, and their products would get worse because the shareholders want more money out of the company, right? They're trying to squeeze more blood from a stone. And we knew this was going to happen. I mean, if you pay attention to capitalism at all, this is how this happens, right? Like, that's why like the giant corporations that were huge in like the early 1900s aren't here anymore, because they squeezed and they died. And we're seeing the large tech corporations now being squeezed until they die. And the problem is the people who suffer are us, the users, right? Like, Linux was supposed to be our savior from that, right? Except now Linux, like, Microsoft's one of the largest contributors to the Linux kernel, and the corporate influence in Linux is immense. You've got Ubuntu, from, you know, Canonical doing Ubuntu. You've got Red Hat, who has definitely started to, you know, and poopify their distribution. There's a ton of corporate influence in Linux now. And you've got projects like Systemd. Yes, I'm going to say it. You have projects like Systemd that are trying to take over and control as much of the Linux distribution as possible in the name of, you know, standardizing it, right? Because it makes it easier to remote control these machines and, like, replicate them, clone them, puppet a large number of them over Ansible or something like that. But, like, that, again, we're removing the personal from personal computer, right? It's no longer your computer, it's a Systemd computer, right? Like, what distribution of Linux do you use? It's more like, what distribution of Systemd do you use? I like the Debian flavor of Systemd. I don't like Systemd at all. I set up a NAS recently with the newest version of Debian, I think it's Debian 12 now, that uses a more recent version of Systemd than 11, obviously. But if it does not, it gets to a boot stage where it's trying to mount file systems, right, that you've defined in your fstab file, right, etc. fstab, where you define all your file systems. You say where the device is, where the mount point is, what type it is, if you have any options for the file system, right? That file, everybody knows the etc. fstab file. And if it can't mount them, it halts the whole system and drops to single user mode. This is a file server that's meant to run headless with no monitor or keyboard attached. And so I reboot it, and this just tripped me up 3 times until I figured out what was going on with it. So I'm like, oh, what's wrong with one of my file systems? Nothing's wrong with it. It's just not there fast enough for systemd. Because systemd is loading earlier and earlier in the boot cycle. You know, systemd used to launch after multi-user startup. All your file systems would be there already. The fact that it can halt the whole system and take it to single user mode because it can't find, you know, a file system that lives under the, you know, the /mnt, the mount tree structure, has nothing to do with the root file system, or, you know, the root virtual file system. It just blows my mind. That's my rant against systemd, and that's why I'm not building a Linux machine for my main computer. I'm building a Haiku machine because I want my personal computer to be personal. It's mine. Don't move my cheese. Leave my stuff where I put it. I'm going to set the machine up the way I want it. I want everything to stay where it is. Right? Like, I want a machine that I can trust is going to remain mine for the lifetime of the hardware. Right? I don't want mystery updates. I don't want systemds. I don't want ads. Right? I don't think anybody else does either, right? Like, this is not, I don't think I'm asking for something that's crazy, you know? To have a computer that just does what I tell it to do. And only what I tell it to do. I feel like I shouldn't have to run like a completely wacko operating system to get this, right? Like, you could run, you know, like Menuet OS that runs off of a single floppy disk, right? Like, there's an OS written entirely in x86 assembler that fits on a 1.44 meg floppy disk. That'll do only what you tell it to do, right? There's nothing in that operating system, but I don't feel like I should have to run a totally wacko operating system just to get a computer that does what I want it to do. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. Sorry. That's my rant against systemd. Anyway, we're building a Haiku machine today. I'm totally not nuts. Let's look at what we got on the bench for parts, huh? Jeez. Oh gosh. There's our desk cam. Yes, we have the cheeky Voodoo 5 is sitting in the corner of the shot still. I'm still working on that video. I'm much further along now than I was last week, which was awesome. But we've got pretty basic stuff here, right? Because Haiku doesn't really need a ton. Like I said, we've got a pretty basic system. It's just that pile driver APU. Of course, there's no 3D acceleration in Haiku yet, so there's no need to have a huge power-hungry GPU on it. Of course, that limits what you can do with the operating system, but like, that's fine. So we've got a fairly whatever power supply. It's an EVGA 430 watt. I've got a couple of things of RAM here. In the past, I've found success with running, this is actually RAM out of some model of Mac Pro. I just pick it up on eBay. It's super cheap. It's ECC. It's not registered DDR3, but it is ECC DDR3. I pick it up because it's dirt cheap. The stuff is dirt cheap. And these APUs, for the most part, will run them perfectly fine. Now, if we have problems with this particular one actually running these sticks, I've got a pair of matching capacity sticks that are non-ECC, that are just from, you know, everybody's favorite remanufactured memory vendor, ATEC. I'm sure everyone is using these days. But I've had good luck with these too, with these sticks as well. So we've got, and that's 2 8GB sticks each. The board we're using has 2 DDR3 slots on it. Should be able to accept up to, I think, DDR3 1866. I don't know if either of these are. I think they're both 1600, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. The biggest issue for me, honestly, is that this board, while it is functional, and it's got something over my other FM2 board, because apparently that one died on me, it only has VGA and DVI for video outputs, and I have a 4K monitor. which would like DisplayPort, or at least like some recent version of HDMI. So the most I'm going to be able to get out of this thing, it is dual link DVI-D, but the most I'm going to be able to get out of it is 1440p, which will probably be fine. I'll probably keep my eyes open for an FM2 motherboard with a DisplayPort on it, because that would be ideal. What else we got? We have the stock cooler, the AM3 stock cooler from last week's AM3 experiments. This actually was a really nice cooler. It did a good job of cooling the CPU, and it was quite quiet. I like that it's a downfiring cooler, so it keeps the MOSFETs and power delivery on the motherboard cool as well. And these APUs are really low power anyway. Like, I think this is a max of, what, 105 watts, I think? We're specifically using a, what are you? You are an A10 5700. So that is, I believe that's top of the line Trinity. Four cores, so it's a 2-module pile driver with, I forget how many shaders of terascale it has. Doesn't really matter. No 3D graphics, who cares? That's about it. Oh, storage. I've had some good luck with storage prices going up. Thankfully, they haven't gone up as much as everything else has gone up. But they have gone up. I've had some luck buying used SSDs. So my boot SSD is going to be a Samsung 850 EVO, 1 terabyte. And then if I need additional data storage, I have a rather archaic, nowadays, Seagate Fire CUDA. This is an SSHD, so it's got, I think, 16 gigs of flash in it, and then it's a 2 terabyte hard drive. It uses the flash as a read and write cache, which is kind of a cool idea. Supposedly, the Fire CUDAs weren't super reliable, but I've had this one for, God, like 4 years at this point? 5 years? More than 5 years at this point, and it's been perfectly reliable for me. Like I said, if I need more data storage, more than a terabyte, I can use this. And this is all being contained on one of my little 3D prints. I will release these, I promise. I'll release them before the end of the year. I'm sorry, I know it's taken me a long time to release my new 3D prints. Mostly just because I've been too stressed out to make videos, but they're coming. That includes like this little super mini 3D print test bench thingamabob. This actually, the way this works is this is actually going to connect to one of the mounting holes on the back of the motherboard, right here, like the micro ATX screw hole back here. This will actually secure inside it. I'll show you once we start the assembly. But yes, these are going to be part of the release once I finally release these things. Sorry, I know everybody's been asking for like storage options for the 3D printed test benches, and I have a few. I have a few that I've developed and tested, and they're doing okay. Anyway, is there anything else? That's pretty much it. I've got a keyboard and mouse here, ready to go, and a whole bunch of parts strewn over everything. My life, like my desk, is a mess right now. But let's get started, huh? Let's see what we've got in the chat here. Yeah, Mavunky is here. Hello, welcome to the stream. Mavunky says the problem is I think it's become too complex. I think it being System D. Too complex and too intertwined for the good old computer that just does what I want and nothing else. You know, for it to still offer modern creature comforts at the same time. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I'm sure it's super useful if you got like a big farm of Linux machines to have them all, you know, running, you know, omniscient System D that you can control with Ansible and other stuff, you know, like I'm sure it's super useful if you're running an enterprise business on Linux. But if you're just a rando trying to like use a computer, I think it's kind of overkill. Like it's a lot of overkill. And it really gets in the way a lot of times. Mivanki says, DVI to DisplayPort adapter to work super well. Yes, however, you can't magically get more resolution out of it, unfortunately. And I don't know if there's like, if you can get a DVI port that does a DisplayPort signaling mode, that might work. But if you're just doing like DVI because DVI, right? There's a bunch of stuff, right? So DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI are all kind of backwards or kind of sidewards compatible. Because of DVI's prevalence in the early 2000s, there's an HDMI fallback mode that's just DVI signaling, right? DisplayPort also has a DVI fallback mode that's just DVI signaling, right? And so they're all kind of side compatible with each other. But what I really want is something like this that gives me real packet-based DisplayPort that can run this monitor here in front of me at 4K 60 Hertz, maybe even with 10-bit color. Like, that'd be pretty great. But this board I don't think is going to do that. I don't think there's like a DisplayPort signaling mode in this DVI port. I think it's just dual link DVI. There's nothing else special about it, unfortunately. Oh, there you go. Bruce Lee is here. Bruce Lee says the A105700 has 8 units of 64 shaders each for 512 terascale shaders in total. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. These made pretty nice like home theater PCs back in the early 2010s when they came out. These were not bad. I had one as a home theater PC for a while. It was pretty great. Yeah, Chris Jackson says systemd just tries to do way too much. Yes, it violates the fundamental design principles of Unix, and that's the thing. Is like those. There's a school of thought that says the old Unix design principles of everything's a file, right? You have small utilities that talk to each other, and can be easily commanded together to do complex tasks. That maybe that's a little outdated, but I still think it's a good system design principle, and I think it's still valid to use smaller computers in that way. Yeah, so a long time ago, I tried, what is it? Open Solaris. They've renamed to Open Indiana now. And that was a completely different experience, right? So like Solaris is an old Unix, and I mean like a capital U Unix. And it's a completely different design philosophy to Linux or to System 5. And systemd feels a lot like that. Systemd feels like running Solaris. There's a whole different set of commands. There's a whole bunch of like central management daemons that like manage the system for you. You send them commands and then they make the management decisions. And it's like, systemd feels like that. It's very bureaucratic, and it detaches you from your computer, and it reminds you that there's a layer in between you and the computer you're trying to use and manage. Some people like that, and some people, like me, really don't. Oh. Yeah. Yes, yeah, you got it, yeah. Mabunky says, yeah, 2560-ish max for dual link. Yep. 2560 by 1600, I think, is the maximum resolution for dual link DVI. Obviously, this is a 16 by 9 display, so I'm going to be doing 2560 by 1440 on it at maximum. Maybe I'll even do 1080 and just let the display pixel double it. I don't know. Gutbomb says, I love the color you printed that test bench in. So do I. This is a cool filament, actually. Grab this without dropping anything else off of my shelf. This is from, I've never heard of these folks. This is from Zero 3D. And this is, what do they call this? This is Midnight Blue. And it's actually, you can't really tell on the filament itself, but I believe it is a little bit sparkly. So it is slightly abrasive. It also, it strings like you wouldn't believe. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult to print. But boy, does it look nice, right? Like it's got this great shine to it. I love it. It's such a great color. I used it, I also used it for my, my prototype cartridge PC that I took to VCF SoCal last year. No, year before last. That was this filament as well. I love the I love the shine on it. It's like a silk finish on it. It's really great. Fun to try out if you've got a decently modern printer with some hardened steel nozzles. Give this a try. It's a fun print. It's a little, like I said, it strings like crazy, but it's otherwise really fun, and you can make some really gorgeous prints with it. This is, again, this is Zero 3D, Z-I-R-O, Z-A-R-O, Midnight Blue. It's just normal PLA. Mystical PLA. It's, I believe it is just, I think it's just glitter PLA. But I love this color. I would get this again in a heartbeat. As difficult as it was to print, I would get it again in a heartbeat. Put that back where it belongs. All right, so let's start this. Let's get this build on the road. Mivunky asks, do you have a full-size test bench design of Win? I have, sorta. I mean, you're constrained by the size of your printer, right? Which, when I first designed the test benches, was my Ender 3, 220 by 220 by 220, basically. Which kind of limits you to basically mini ITX plus a little bit, right? Like mini ITX is 170 millimeters on an edge, on each edge. So you get a little bit of additional play for like, that's how I'm able to do like the fun handle on the top, and also this support bracket on the back for accessories. You plug in fans here or plug in control panels. I know a lot of folks like to use these facing this direction. Your power supply goes underneath and it's supposed to exhaust outwards towards the back. So I usually use them facing this direction so that not so that the hot air is coming at me, hot air is moving away from me, right? So like this is the side that I see when I usually use these. So I have this, so this is the back edge of it. The power supply pulls cool air in through the bottom and exhausts it out the rear to keep it away from me, right? So like when I install this down here below my monitor, that hot air is going to be blowing towards the wall and, you know, back up behind the monitor. To be removed by some 3D printed fans that I have hanging in my doorway to keep airflow circulating in here. I love having a 3D printer. It's a problem-solving machine. Harney Barrow is here. Harney Barrow says, high tensile personal computers. Raptor Engine says the A10 doesn't support ECC DDR3. I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out. But like I said, I've got the non-ECC here in case it doesn't work. RetroMac UK says shuttles. Yeah, shuttle XPCs. Those were cool. Those are cool little machines. So I built something like this way back, previous life, when I had a home and, you know, a home theater. But I built it into a Silverstone case. One of those Silverstone cases that actually takes a full ATX PC, but it looks like a piece of AV equipment on the front. They're super cool. I don't know if Silverstone still makes them, but it was really neat to like put it together and you just, you know, stick it in the stack with everything else. You got your receiver and your, you know, your Blu-ray player, your CD player, and then you've got the home theater PC. It's all just stacked up in the same spot. It's pretty neat. I liked that. David Starbucks is here. Hello, welcome to the stream. David says, I'm afraid that if I had a 3D printer, I'd invent problems to fix. I mean, there's a little of that, right? Like, I have a key light over here. You can see the shadow on my face from it. It's like a big long LED strip. It's like a 35 watt strip LEDs. I have it hanging over my door. Oh, this has lost my focus again. There we go. I have it hanging over my door, right? Because there's the door to my office right there. I have it hanging over the door with a 3D print. But it's honestly been kind of great. I just designed the 3D print and like ran it off on a couple of revisions to get it to fit over the door correctly. But like I've accidentally tripped on the cable to the light and like sheared it off the the stand. So just reprint the stand, right, and just stick it back on the door. There's a little bit of like solving your own problems and like making problems to solve. There's a little bit of that, but I think overall it's a net positive. It's a net positive for my life. Oh. All right, so let's get started on this then. I was told there was a computer. Yes, there is. There is indeed a computer. Let's computer. So, the way that these micro versions of the test benches work, I have them designed for, really they're designed for my own needs, and like if they solve a problem for you, that's terrific. But they're mostly just designed to make life a little easier for me, where I have a whole bunch of systems that I'm trying to demo or test over the course of a week, and this just makes it a little bit easier. So I have normal ATX power supply here with, you can see, a couple of screws halfway screwed into it. And I've got alignment tabs here on the back of the test bench, and these just slot right in to those, if I can do this correctly without looking, they just slot right into the screws on the power supply, right? So there's the motherboard mounted, you just have to screw it in to tighten it. That's part of what makes these things so, honestly, kind of addictive to print out and use, because there's practically no friction now to like putting together a test system, right? And there's the system assembled, and it's strong enough that it'll hold the power supply in there. It does, you know, it does wobble a little bit, but like, it's fine. I do have a larger version of this test bench print that like actually like cradles the power supply and keeps it in place. Like if you're planning on moving the system around fully assembled a lot, use the larger print. It makes more sense. This is literally just for like, I have one power supply, I want to test 5 different systems. You can print out and attach 5 different, you know, test bench prints and just move them between the power supply really easily. That was my design decision for this one. That was my design goal for this one. Let's see if we're gonna move the camera over here. There we go. Put the webcam on top of the monitor, put the monitor on a swivel arm. You suddenly have a movable camera mount. Woo! Alright, so let's do, so these are APUs, they're monolithic, so the thermal paste application on these is really easy. You just want to throw a little thermal paste down the middle. Piece of cake. There's no CCDs or additional dyes in there that are going to be generating more heat or less heat. And we'll throw in the cooler. Let's see, which direction do I want this? The only question you really have is like, which direction do I want this lever to be in? I think I'm going to put it on the outside. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing really interfering with it on the inside, but I'll just do that. And yeah, this is an AM3 cooler. Works fine on FM2+ because AMD has been smart about their cooler design, and all of their coolers work together. You can get the latch in the right place. All their coolers produced in the last like 15 years, they all play nicely with each other, which is kind of cool. Get this back onto its position. Come on. Get on there. There we go. Be nice. There. Okay. So, put this on the other side. Just hold it under the latch. Press it down. Voila. We're in. And CPU, that's system fan header. CPU fan header is right here. So that plugs right in there. No problem, just like that. Easy peasy. that's basically all the assembly we have to do. Just throw some RAM in. I'm going to try the ECC RAM again if it doesn't work. I've got the non-ECC. I have a lot of this stuff, so I'd like to use it up if I can. I've had good luck with this on my other APUs. I have an A8, is it A8? 3850. That's currently serving as my network attached storage, my file server. That does run some of this ECC RAM, and it does it just fine. So I'm hopeful that the pile driver APU will do it as well. That is CPU power. So that will run around the back. This is going to plug in over here. Just like that. Cool. Where is our SATA? There's SATA 3, 0, and 1 right there. So those will be where I plug in our primary drives. Oh yeah, to show you how that works, this is the print. You can see I've got some mounting holes in here for the drives. And then these screw holes here on the top, or I guess on the side, are what end up interfacing with the board. It's going to go right here. And actually that's going to go in there with, where did I put the screw? There it is. The screw that I took out of this from the other machine. This is exactly the one that I was using on the AM3 system last week, except I've swapped the primary SSD. And there it is. Pretty rigid, even though it's one screw. And just screwing into plastic, it's pretty good. Not too bad. I've also got versions of this that flip it the other direction so that the drives end up going underneath for longer motherboards. Like if you've got a I don't know, a full ATX board or like a micro ATX that's a little longer than this, you can kind of sling the SSDs underneath the board a little bit easier. Okay, so CPU 12 volt. It's going to go in this direction. We've got eight whole pins for it. This has to be one of the earliest boards with full 8-pin power for a desktop CPU. Anticipating the power requirements of Bulldozer, I see. Okay, and we'll need, this is going to be PCI Express power, we won't need that. So that can go to the side. We'll need a pair of SATA power connectors for the drives. These two are basically, or these three are basically extra, and I don't really have a great place to put them at the moment, unfortunately. We'll just kind of hang them in the back there for now. I really need to figure out some cable management for these. I'm not great at it, I'm sorry. Alright, let's plug in some power. Got lots of power leads over here. Power supply is off. We've got network. Video is going to be here. This comes from the capture card. Yeah, good. No signal. That's good. It's actually working. Where did I put my? There it is. So that just plugs into here. Plugs into the DVI on the board. Plug it in the right direction. About in there. Mouse is a mess like everything else. go in over here. It's sort of modern. It's got one PS2 port on it. That's a combo port for mouse or keyboard. And 2 USB ports where the other PS2 port would be. It's kind of fun to see like the slow modernization of motherboards as you get into the mid-2010s. Boards start looking a lot more like they do nowadays. This won't be the final keyboard and mouse combo for this because my M1 Mac Mini and my Windows PC are on a USB KVM. So I swap USB peripherals with them. So this is going to go in place of my M1. So it'll be on the KVM with the Windows PC. And then I'll just switch my monitor from, I think that's on DisplayPort, over to DVI when I'm actually using this. Okay, so everything is connected. Looks good. I think we're okay for a power on test. Oh, I think we need a speaker. I don't think there's a speaker connected. Front panel connector is there. Is there a speaker connector on this board? Maybe it's too new. Front audio, SPDIF, COM, USB, front panel. No speaker connector. Huh. No speaker connector. Don't run into problems, I guess. Okay. I guess we'll just hope it works. So I need to actually make a Haiku USB. I haven't made one yet. Sorry. I got a little preoccupied this morning. So to make this, I'm just using Ballina Etcher. It's available online. I don't know if it's open source, but I know it's free. I don't know why it's called Ballina Etcher, but it writes USB sticks, does the thing. Let me grab my Haiku image. There we go. Select a target. Let's put you on the 32 gig USB disk. Make sure I'm not writing to anything else. Yes. Okay. Flash it. Go. Okay. It is off and running. So while that's going, I'll check with chat here. Windows wants to try and open the drive. It's not going to work. It's not FAT32 formatted. What do we got? Trina says, "Damn, now I feel like I should be working on my test machine." I mean, you know. David Starbucks says you should be running memtest. Yeah, that's kind of Trina's thing is memtest, right? Like this, we run SpeedSys here, right? Trina runs memtest. Yeah, Mevunky says working on the same thing, the same type of thing as the thing you're watching is ultra satisfying. It's very true. It's very true. Heck yeah, Gutbomb says I have a Nuck on the way to me in the mail, and I'm planning on putting Haiku on there. Heck yeah. Also, welcome. Good to see ya. Oh yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, nobody knows why it's called Billy Etcher. Bruce Lee says it's probably named after a friend of a friend or a friend or something like that. Yeah, right? Jack68K hits it on the head, right? No one knows equals everyone knows but me. I'm sure I'm the one who's out of the loop. I'm the last one to know anything. Clarjon 1 Plus has joined the stream. Hello, welcome. Clarjon asks, did I miss the Haiku? You have not. I'm currently writing it to a USB right now. Raptor Engine says, SpeedSys. Oh, interesting. Gutbomb says it used to just be called Etcher, but they ran into some trademark trouble, so they changed their name. They added Bellina to it. Okay. All right. Leave it to capitalism to ruin everything. Hello. We've got folks joining. I cannot pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I don't speak Russian or Ukrainian. This Cyrillic is beyond me. I will try to pronounce anyone's name. Cyrillic is beyond me. I'm sorry. Trina says, I have no idea what you mean about me running memtest. You do. Maybe you need to run memtest on your brain. Make sure everything's still in there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean. David Starbucks says, I need to play with Haiku, and I own an A8 7600 APU. You should do it. You should do it. Haiku runs pretty nicely on Bulldozer systems. We've done it on a couple now, and they've run pretty nicely. The tiny cartridge PC that I took to VCF SoCal, I had 3 OSs for it, right? I brought along 3 SSDs for it for the cartridge, and everybody wanted to run Haiku on it, and it ran really well. It wasn't even a Bulldozer. It was like a Bobcat. It was one of the little like 25-watt embedded APUs or like 35-watt embedded APUs. Not even Bulldozer. It ran really nicely. It's good. It's good. All right, Flash is done. We've got our Haiku. Let's get this thing going. I will switch over to the capture card. One moment. There we go. Plug this into the USB 3 port for a nice fast boot, and I need to plug in my SATA cables. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. SATA power and SATA power. There we go. Got a pair of fun blue SATA cables for these. Get in there. That's 0 and that's 1, so we'll do the hard drive goes to 1, and the boot SSD goes to 0. Okay, so we are set up and ready to go. Move my mains computer mouse over. I definitely won't grab the wrong mouse at some point during the stream. Okay. Power supply on. And I guess I can't find one of my buttons, so we'll just use a magic screwdriver. There we go. You're gonna be nice? You're gonna show me a picture on the screen? Yes, excellent. Yeah, Retromax says you smoke test. Yeah, exactly. The computers work a little bit less well when you let the magic smoke out. Oh, that's quite small. What resolution does it think it has detected? That's my question. Oh, look at how small that is. Holy cow. What? That's so tiny. Look at how little it is. It must be running at like top resolution, like 2560 by 1440. I'm so sorry, everybody watching the stream. I can barely read this, and I'm looking at the source material. Oh my god. All right, we'll just do an install on this, and I'll get this into a readable resolution as quickly as possible. Oh, let's run our partitions. Oh my god. What? Let's put a partition here. B file system, we'll call this Haiku. Create. Yes. format that as B file system. Go. Ta-da! Awesome. Install it. We're gonna install it to the 850 Evo. Now let's watch that super fast install process. Even on a Bulldozer APU, she's fast. Clarjon says it tries to snag the native resolution of the display. Yeah, it makes sense. It's plugged into my capture card, which identifies itself as 4K 60. So that would make sense. You would not believe the resolutions that some like 4000, 5000 series AMD cards try to run on this thing, because they can't quite hit 4K, but they can do like widescreen, so like 3840 by 1440. Like, oh, it's so hard to use. Okay, looks like we're good. We're gonna do a reboot and see if we boot off of the SSD. I probably need to turn on compatibility mode boot. Let's do that. I'm sure it's set to like boot into EFI or something. We have done no EFI setup, so we need to boot into MBR and CSM. Where did you hide this? Gigabyte. Oh no. I've changed it to German. No. There we go. Okay, here we go. We're set to legacy. No. Legacy. Thank you. DVI-D can't drive 4K. But what it did do is it tried to do it at 2560 by 1440. Right? Yeah, RetroMac UK. Why can't all OSs be this simple? Well, hold off on your simpleness because we gotta get this thing to actually boot first. So it's set to boot Legacy, which I think is CSM mode. That should be BIOS mode. I wonder if I forgot to set it to bootable or set to active partition. I think I did that last time I tried to install this. I forgot to set that as a bootable partition. RetroMac says, isn't Beta 5 UEFI? Well, we didn't set up a UEFI partition, so it's not going to do UEFI. I guess we'll just reboot and try it again. Cloud says, Beta 5 does UEFI. Is it UEFI only? Do I have to do like the make a system partition and do that whole thing again? Mivunky says, try UEFI. Bleeding Edge, go. I mean, I'm fine with booting UEFI. Oh wait, hang on. Why? Why have we booted into it now? Is this running off of the USB? I think this is running off the USB. The Haiku partition is nearly completely full. Okay. But this gives us an opportunity to set the screen resolution to something not insane. It is, look at this, it is trying to do 4K. 3840 by 2160. It really is trying. I don't know how, over DVI. You saw me plug the thing in, it's a DVI to HDMI, like how is this even working? Okay, let's put this down to a resolution where y'all can actually see this. Let's make it 1600 by 900. Keep. Wow, that looks awful. I think that's just the fault of my capture card. My capture card just makes this look terrible. Yikes. How about, I guess we can do 720p? Does that look any better? That doesn't even sync. Okay. I guess we'll stay at 1600 by 900. It just kind of looks like garbage. I'm completely willing to blame this on my capture card because my capture card's kind of, it's expensive, but it's also kind of terrible. Try 1680 by 1050, see if that does anything better. No, that's still awful. 1080p? Do you look better at 1080p? That looks quite nice at 1080p, which makes sense. That's a resolution that this is actually supposed to support. So I guess we'll just leave it there for now. Okay. I've had to ask this several times, how to actually get this thing to install on a system that prefers to boot UEFI. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to delete this. And we'll do a format. Oh, actually, we want to so how? Oh, there we go. Disk initialize. That's probably our problem. Let's initialize it with MBR. And then I'll create a B file system partition. Okay, and we can set it as active. That's more like it. That's what we should have seen. I forgot to, this is my fault, I forgot to initialize the disk first. Okay, so that gives us an active partition marked as BFS. Now we format it with the actual B file system. Call it Haiku, that's great. Query support's fantastic. Do it formatted, good. So we should be able to run the installer and get this on there. And then it should just boot up. We've got instructions. I clicked through these before, but this is new as of beta 5, I think. At least it's not in the nightlies. A little bit of wall of text about how to partition this stuff. It's not bad. Not bad, okay. We'll install from the USB. We're gonna install onto the SSD. We'll do this one more time. Actually creating the partition correctly this time. Oof. Oof, John, that sounds awful. John says, I had lots of UEFI issues with my Bulldozer motherboard. I had to set up a USB boot drive in order to start booting, then boot off of a RAID card volume with serial console support. Lots of work. That sounds awful. Let's see if we can sidestep that by using MBR. So we're gonna turn this off. I will unplug the USB. Awesome. And now power it back on. USB is out. Power back on. Okay. Fingers crossed, this should just boot Haiku. There we go. Look at that. It helps if you actually like format your disk correctly so that you can install an operating system on it. It's all my fault. That was all entirely my fault. Okay, so we are at a higher resolution than we were before, but we're not at 4K. So let's change the resolution so y'all can see this. See if we can get this down to a resolution where y'all can actually make this out. Oh, that's awful. Yikes! This capture card is just the worst. Can you please be a different resolution? Pretty please. And not look like complete garbage. See, my problem is I'm going straight into the capture card. The capture card really only supports a handful of resolutions, like 720p, 1080p, 4K, 1440p. That's really all it really supports. When I get those really nice captures of old retro systems on this channel, I'm going through an old StarTech VGA to HDMI, which does all the upscaling for me, and just outputs 1080p to my capture card, because that's all my capture card can actually handle. Because it's kind of a wimp, honestly. Boy, is it a wimp. This is pretty pathetic. I swear things are smaller than they were before. Maybe that's just the scaling. It says it's 90 dpi. I wonder if I can make that larger. Appearance, maybe? That'll change font sizes. What do we got? Oh, Francois says, how do I remove the bottom of the PowerBook 520 without dismantling everything? I don't know if you can do that. I think you at least need to pull the front of the monitor off so you can get access to the hinge bolts. Oh, there we go. Subnet says I think it was 74 DPI before install. Is there a way to change what it thinks the DPI is? Because it was nice before. Maybe this won't be quite so awful if I turn off the subpixel anti-aliasing. Let me try a lower resolution. Will you do 900p? Oh, it's just gross. Koenig says you were at 720p before. I actually couldn't get 720p to sync before. And give it another try. Yeah, see, 720p won't sync. I don't know why. RetroMac UK says set the font size to 24 and reboot. Yeah, 720 by 800 makes it awful. Okay, let's try setting the font size to 24 and rebooting. Give that a shot. That's not the one I want. I want appearance. Okay. 24. That's big. You'll be able to see that from a mile away. What if we make this like 18? Give it a quick reboot, see what happens. The UI scales to the default font size. Okay, we'll give it a shot. Give it a shot. It's weird that it was 74 DPI before, and now it's 90. Well, there we go. That's a little more readable. See if we can clean this up. There we go. Nice. Okay. So I'll hit the About box. There we go. We've got all 16 gigs of RAM is recognized. We're on our A series APU at 3.4 gigahertz. We're up and running. And like, it's pretty snappy, right? Like we've got at least some amount of 2D acceleration on this hardware. Whether it's just, you know, a VESA frame buffer, it seems all right. So let's get some apps. How about that? We go into the Haiku Depot. I didn't even check if we have network connectivity. It looks like we do. Yeah. RTL81XX, we've got drivers for network. Let's let this synchronize with the repositories. Okay. Retro Macintosh UK says 24 point doubles the DPI. That makes sense. That makes sense. Can y'all read it? Like, to you out in Streamland, does this look okay, or should I make the fonts bigger? Let me know. Chat, tell me. Tell me. We've got very readable, looks good, okay. All right, we'll leave it at 18. It does look pretty good to me too. This is usable, perfectly usable. I am curious, with it booting up and saying it was running at 4K, if it will actually drive this 4K monitor when all is said and done, because like, I didn't think the hardware was supposed to be able to. It'd be kind of funny. Be kind of funny. Okay, so we've got featured packages. Kind of cool. Picasso. Chocolate Doom, heck yeah. Gotta get some Doom in here. Got the Falcon web browser. Should probably grab that. I think Firefox is a third-party install. I don't know if it's in the depot yet. Let's see if we can find it. Looks like no. That's all right. We'll grab Falcon because it's pretty good. Hit install. Trina is back. I can read stuff on the screen. Yeah, we're working. It's doing well. Let this do the install. Firefox is not on the depot yet. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. It's possible. Subnet says, I feel like I've heard of some DVI-D ports having a proper HDMI mode built in. That certainly seems to be what's happening here. Bruce Lee says, hopefully not 4K 30. Yeah, I guess we can try it. Do we try changing resolutions while we're installing software? Let's put the system under some stress. Open up screen. God, this thing's responsive. That opened instantly. Preferences, screen, and let go. Yeah, that opened instantly. I love how fast this thing is. Alright, so let's put it, it's 3840 by 2160 still in the menu, so let's try it. What happens? Oh god, I can't read anything. Keep. It's not, I don't think it's actually outputting a full 4K. There's some weird, like, line artifacts going on here that I don't think it's actually doing 4K. But it certainly seems to be 60 frames per second, right? My guess is that we are still limited to 2560 by 1440. But for whatever reason, that resolution doesn't show up in the list. That's my guess. Let's put it back to 1080p. Can I read that? Yes, there it is. Alright, there we go. We're back. So everything's fine. Still at 60 Hz. Looking good. God, I love how fast this operating system is. Oh my god. Okay, so let's open up Falcon. We've got it installed. Look at that. Got a web browser. Let's go to YouTube. That's not bad. That's not bad. The fonts are a little weird, like everything's italic, but otherwise it's fine. Scroll's pretty good. There's a little bit of a jump there. I'm gonna blame it on YouTube's enormous amount of JavaScript, honestly. But like that's not bad. I'll take that. Oh, maybe it's me. It's me moving the mouse cursor off of the window. It stops scrolling when you move the mouse cursor off the window. Shocking. Can't imagine why it would do that. It makes sense. Look at this. We're live. I have no idea if audio works. We've got, up in the upper left corner there, upper right corner, we've got an audio widget, so it looks like sound might be working. If I make this, let's make a ding. I have the audio from the, I don't know if this is running in like HDMI mode. Is it going to send audio over the DVI port through HDMI? I don't see anything on the levels that would tell me that it's actually making noise. Oh, an ad, of course. Of course there's an ad. It's alright. I don't actually want audio to come over the display connection because I actually use right up here is a Sound Blaster, right you can't quite see it, but it's up over here. Is a Sound Blaster Play USB sound card that I actually is plugged into the USB KVM that I talked about earlier. And that's how I actually get audio between my two machines. So what? $720p 60? Sure. You actually in 720p 60? That's almost there. Like, I'm not expecting like a Bulldozer APU to like suddenly be able to run like top of the line YouTube video, but like that's not bad. That's totally watchable. It's not quite 60 FPS, but it's mostly there. If I fire up Pulse, let me guess, we got, oh yeah, there's our CPU usage indicator there. We're at like 75% CPU. What's Pulse say? Yeah. It's mostly the CPU, because we're doing all the decoding's happening in software. That makes sense. That makes sense. This little APU is having a rough time, but like that's usable. I'm okay with watching videos at 720p 60. Probably 1080p 30 would also work just fine. I can live with that. It's okay. You don't need my 4K video. Cool. We have a browser. What else should we get? I want some kind of a writing package so that I can write scripts. I can grab this and move it down. Nice. An OS UI that's intuitive. Little grabby bits are not hidden from you in a flat UI. I like that so much. What is in here? Oh, Inkscape's here? Nice. RetroMac UK says K-Write. Oh god, Abby word. There's full LibreOffice. Okay. Is there, I just want something like lightweight. Is there something that like comes from the BOS world that's just a lightweight like text editor? Well, not quite text editor, but like something like approximately like WordPad, something like that. Like a light writing app that's not quite a text editor, but a little bit more. Francois says I use P for coding. A programmer's editor. I imagine it doesn't have a whole lot of support for like fonts and stuff, like embedding fonts into the native programmer editor for a Haiku. That sounds great. I mean, for like doing coding. I don't know if I probably mentioned it here like 2 years ago, but I have on my to-do list, I want to make a game, and I want to write it in the Love 2D framework in Lua. And I've been corralled into like trying to get this released at Sage next year. So via a friend who is also making a game, and I would love to kind of release a Haiku version of it. My ideal is to like release a classic macOS version of it that runs on a Power Mac, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to run on a 68K machine. Got LibreOffice, Coder. Ah, Trina is testing a graphics card running 3D Mark 06 on it. Nice. Oh, styled edit. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Let me guess, it is installed by default. That sounds like something you'd put into the OS by default. Yeah, styled edit. It's like it's the simple talk or the simple text clone, right? This should work. Got a font menu, sizes, colors. What does this save as? Encodings. Does it save as RTF, or is it like, is it its own file format? It's classic macOS style. We got no file extensions. Okay, I can roll with that. That's fine. Saves as text and the style is saved as an attribute alongside. Yeah, I recognize it with like a magic header. Yeah, that makes sense. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, if I had something that I could like save as RTF, then I can get a text file out of the system and send it to somebody else, and it'll preserve at least some of the formatting. Like for like writing and saving text in the OS, just for me, personal use, that's fine. Jack68K says, I wish the UI used the original BOS system font. I'm sure that is copyrighted and trademarked, which is why it doesn't. But yeah, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Talk about a hidden nostalgia there. This is a test of styled edit. I can type on this tiny keyboard. This is pretty great and quite lightweight. Cool. Whoops. Oh boy. Oh right, because it uses Alt instead of Control. So that would be bold, italic, underline. Nice, okay. That's kind of cool. I forgot about that. Like, yeah, BOS used the, like, the, not the Apple convention for the meta key, but like the same position on the keyboard, right? Like, because the command key on an Apple keyboard is like right next to the space bar. And they use the Alt key in BOS and Haiku. I forgot about that. That's nice. I like it. I like it. Okay, there's my test text file. The true meta key. Control and Alt are swapped. Yeah. You can change, Francois says, you can change the command key in the preferences. I mean, Alt's fine. That's, I grew up on classic Mac OS. Like that's my jam. Hardy Barrow asks, BOS is different from what Next computers used. Yeah. So Next machines back in the 90s used Next Step, and then again once it changed into OpenStep. And that actually evolved into Mac OS X. When Apple bought Next, they took Next Step and they plunked their own UI on top of it and called it Mac OS X. Like literally, it is like all the Next Step programming interfaces that start with NS for Next Step. They're all in there in Mac OS X and modern Mac OS and iOS and watchOS, and it's all Next Step, which is kind of cool, but it's really not Mac OS like. It's really not Mac OS like. It is Next Step. It's its own thing. Not to say it's bad. It does some things that are really cool. Let's grab that 3D Haiku logo I love so much. And we gotta get the GLT pot up here. We'll run a second instance of the teapot because we can. The fan on the APU starting to whir. I love this operating system. I love this operating system so much. Oh yeah, Retro Mac UK is like Alt-N to make a new teapot, right? Because the meta is to like fill this with as many teapots as you can. Just make it biblically accurate teapot. Which is kind of fun. We've got one going at 13 frames per second while the other one just cruises along at 200. And while it's doing this, like, the whole OS is still super responsive, right? So like we can grab our network status widget, throw this over here, we'll grab another demo. Let's do, I don't know, the Mandelbrot. We'll stick that over there, and we'll open up the calculator widget. We're still responsive. We've got, did I close Falcon? I closed Falcon. Let's open up Falcon again. So open up Falcon. We've got a web browser. While all this stuff is going on the backside. Oh, we picked up where we left off. I'm sure this won't run badly at all. Let's play a video while doing everything else. Yeah, it's having a bad time. But that's not the operating system's fault. Right. Alt-T, new tab. There we go. So if we go to FrogFind, we go to FrogFind. Come on, Falcon. Uh-oh. We crashed one of our web rendering indexes or instances. How are we doing on RAM right now? I'm guessing we're still okay. Yeah, we're using about 2 gigs out of the 16. We're still doing all of this madness behind the browser. I love this operating system. It's all still so responsive, despite just being completely hammered by other stuff. Yeah. Subnet says, I love that the button was, oh no! That pop-up is the Haiku version of abort, retry, fail. Yes, exactly. We crashed something. Jack68K says, drag a window furiously around the screen. That'll make it chug. I mean, we've got a little bit of some kind of 2D acceleration on this. With this, it's part of the reason that I picked this APU, because this thing has something is enough, you know, GPU is implemented in the back end that this isn't, you know, it's not a complete nightmare when you drag a window around on this thing, which is pretty great. This is going to be my daily driver. I've got some file copies that are still finishing on the M1 Mac Mini, but once they're done, it's going to be my daily driver. This is how I'm going to interact with the world. I wonder if I can run Discord on this. I shouldn't do this while I'm streaming, but let's say. Can Falcon run Discord? Probably. It's what, WebKit? Yeah, it should have no problem. It's like, give me cycles, please. No, you're rendering a biblically accurate teapot. Your job is to render the teapot. Yeah, that's fine. What else? Klajan says Discord runs in Falcon decently. Nice. Oh yeah. Francois says, by the way, the name Haiku comes from NetPositive, which was the original BOS web browser, which added some haikus alongside errors like 404. I think I remember that. Good old NetPositive. Talk about a browser that got very quickly, was very quickly rendered obsolete. NetPositive. I believe y'all have WebPositive now, right? And I think it's another Qt-based web browser, isn't it? It's another WebKit-based web browser now, I think. Yeah, this is a more modern rendering engine now. So let's do the HTML5 test. Nice. That's not bad. 365 for the built-in browser. The thing is, like, right? Like, this is, I'm flipping between these windows like nothing, even though, like, Falcon is on its knees as far as processor cycles. but the whole system is still completely responsive. Now that's a nice score out of a web browser. 521 for Falcon. That's not bad. Even the 365 from WebPositive is not, that's perfectly usable, right? Like that's a daily drivable web browser. 521 is terrific. That's really good. That's not bad. That's not bad. I really like this operating system. Yeah, no, that's fine. Francois says, Polkomandy is still working on merging all the mess we have for WebPositive, because WebKit changes so fast. It really does. I've tried to run some WebKit nightlies on Windows here on this machine, and it's like, good lord, they commit like literally every day. It's ridiculous. Ah, Clarja1 says, you should check the HTML5 test.co. That is the more maintained version. Run it both on both these browsers. Oof! WebPositive doesn't do quite so well, but it's mostly there. Falcon does great though. 569 out of 594. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I do love like refreshing these browsers with so much load on the CPU, and they're just like, yeah, it's fine. Whatever. The whole OS is like, eh. No big deal. God, this operating system's so nice. So if you want a little more rant out of me, and Francois, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Haiku team is working on bringing Haiku up on RISC-V. I believe that is the case. I've seen some RISC-V builds in the nightlies. I think Haiku plus RISC-V could be like computing Libre, you know? Like it gets you away from Intel and ARM. It gets you onto an open hardware ISA. You know, obviously a company still has to, you know, forge the chips. You still have to have a foundry that makes the chips, but like Haiku on RISC-V? That's tempting. That sounds like a future that I want to see. That sounds like a future I want to see. Haiku on RISC-V. Francois says, if you see app server, you'll see our graphics server has many, many threads. Well, that was the cool thing about BOS, right? It's like you had a thread. Well, you had a thread for the window, you had a thread for the menu bar, you had a thread for obviously the application itself could spawn threads. It was what did they call it? A pervasively multi-threaded operating system. That was part of what made it so responsive, like even under heavy load. And it's, don't get me wrong, it is still under heavy load right now, and it's still like perfectly responsive despite that. Oh, here we go. Falcon has died. So yeah, here's our crash report dialog box, right? So it tells you what's died. That would be Falcon. So you can terminate it, you can attach a debugger, you can save a crash report, or write a core dump. Reasonable options. Oh no! Yeah, I mean, it's the dream, right, Francois? Francois says, you know, that there's also PowerPC and M68K ports, but I'm quite alone on those two. A PowerPC port of Haiku would be pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that would be pretty great. But, like, I also realize that PowerPC systems are deader than dead. I love my old PowerPC Macs, but, like, man, talk about a dead platform. I mean, IBM still has a few, they're still running them in their mainframes, but, like, desktop PowerPC, pretty much gone. Pretty much gone. I can understand why there wouldn't be a lot of support to, like, to optimize for that. It's funny that the old version of HTML5 test, looks correctly. It loads all of the dynamic fonts correctly. Keep not pressing the Alt key. Video tag support is good. Video codecs, none supported. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't honestly care that much about video in the browser. No, web VR? No! It's alright. Okay. Cool beans. Reset this. There we go. Zoom into there. The fun part about this, about the Mantle browser, is that it runs a thread on each CPU core. You can see, like, we've got one over here on the side that renders almost nothing, so it finishes right away. It's fun. One of my holy grail machines to collect in my life before I leave this immortal coil is a B-box, but I don't think I'll ever get there. They're so rare, and they're running into capacitor issues now, and it's like, oh, it's so sad. I always wanted a B-box. They were just so cool. It's mesmerizing to just dive into a Mandelbrot. John says, nah, the Amiga 3000 could do VR. Okay. There's VR, like in the 90s, which was awful, and then there's, modern VR, which is slightly less awful. Yeah, that's true. Francois says there's still people making PowerPC hardware. The various Amiga clones and Raptor computing. That's true. That's true. The Amiga community, honestly, is keeping the PowerPC dream alive. Francois says you really want to see the threads in the process controller menu. It's funny. Okay, how do I get there? Where do I find the process controller? Ah, process controller. Desktop applets. Already installed in the desk bar. Is that one? It is. Okay. Threads. Oh my god. Media server, app server. DMT is here for you eventually. Nice. That is a lot of threads. That's a lot of threads. Oh, amazing. We got our idle threads. The Undertaker. I'm guessing that's the thing that kills processes. This is great. Thank you, Francois. Nice. Francois says BOS already had funny thread names back then. I never looked. Well, I mean, I can't. I got to get my my Power Mac 8500 fixed, then we can boot BOS on it again. Because right now, last I left it, it kind of cooks processor cards. So I got to get it. I got to get the power supply recapped by some brave soul, because it's not going to be me. I'm terrible at soldering. This is my best soldering job, and it's pretty awful. That's the kind of work I can do, and it's bad. You don't want to repair a computer that way. So I gotta get somebody to fix my Power Mac. Yeah, there we go. See, there's the render threads. Haiku Depot. Haiku Depot. Yeah, we've got the barber machine. Is that for the barber pole? Depot. Open up. That's gotta be. How do I tear these menus off? There's a way to tear off the menus, right? Oh, there isn't a way to tear off the menus. Darn. I thought there was. Bummer. Okay, so if we do... I guess if we install a package, then the barber pole at the bottom will run. So let's install Krita. Shift drag little title tabs on the windows to move them. Oh, excellent. I never remembered what that shortcut was. Oh yeah, tear off menus were a next step thing. That's right. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because the first version of BOS that I used, yeah, Francois says there's some global menu bar thing in the very early versions. The first version of BOS that I used was Preview Release 2, back in like 1995. The barber machine. I love that it's called the barber machine. That's great. I love that. Thank you so much for showing me that. And we've got Krita. Look at that. Easy peasy. Yeah. Subnet says something I had no idea you can do in Haiku until I did it by accident is snapping windows together into a tabbed collection. Yeah. So one of the coolest things that this can do. So like you can just join together a bunch of apps that you need to use, like if you're doing a task that needs like 3 different apps, you just snap all their tabs together and then you've got them as a collection of apps. You can just tab between them through their title bars. Super cool. One of the coolest things I think this OS does, as far as like usability, like day-to-day usability. Oh, I opened up my own little process viewer. Oh, this is awesome. Krita kind of runs like ass, but it runs on ass. It runs like ass on anything. Like I have it installed on this Ryzen 7 5800X 3D, and it runs like ass on this too. That's not a Haiku problem. Don't get me wrong, I love Krita, but it really does not run well. Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. I think that's yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours. I think that's going to be it for stream today. I now have a Haiku machine. This is going to be my main. This will be my main system now. Excited and nervous. Once macOS gets off its butt and copies my stuff onto my backup hard drive, which it said is going to take 2 days. Part of my issue with this stupid operating system on my Mac Mini is that the I/O performance is so bad. I'm copying off of a USB 3 connected NVMe SSD, and it's like it's copying off of the thing at like 2 megabytes a second. What is wrong with this operating system? Oh, the internal NVMe is plenty fast, but like my external NVMe, don't even think about it. You get worse than spinning disk performance out of it. Seriously? And sometimes it's perfectly fine. And other times it copies at 2 megabytes a second because, I don't know, it's feeling depressed. Something like that. Who knows? Okay, but I think that is gonna do it for today's stream. Huge thanks to the Haiku team. If any of y'all are watching this. I had a recurring donation set up on the Haiku project, and I think my Patreon stuff got reset. I'm gonna restart my monthly contribution because I think this operating system deserves a lot of attention. I think it's a good thing. It makes your personal computer personal again, and I love that. I do. All right, so let's switch back over to the ACAM here, and Chris Jackson says it's depressed because it's a sad Mac. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I hope everybody had fun. I certainly had a delight on this stream today. Thank you all for joining me. And we'll definitely have updates. 100% we'll definitely have updates on the Haiku machine as I integrate it into my daily life and make it my primary music listening, video watching, surfing, Discord machine. And reserve my Windows PC here for obviously the Saturday streams, but also like 3D gaming and VR and probably video editing as well. I don't think there's any good video editors on Haiku. But yeah, I think this will do it. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. Yeah, have a wonderful night, and may the PC parts be ever in your favor. Have a great night.